Okay. All right. Okay. So, yeah, let me give you a quick introduction about myself, and then we can get into the presentation. So, my name is Yogesh Kondaskar. I am the CEO of Bizteon Software. We are a software services firm that focuses on business process improvement, and we do agentic AI based application development. So I have a team that works on AI, and we have been actively using live coding with our team. And this presentation is based on what we have learned based like while working on our projects. So I'm assuming like everybody who is participating in this hackathon is live coding. So, I thought this is going to be interesting for the participants. Um, so since I'm not going to do like since we have a small group, I guess we can do that. So, uh, do you, which coding harness is everybody using? Is everyone using Cloud Code or OpenAI, ChatGPT Codex? So, or is there a third one? Like, is anybody using Copilot for their? You can type your response in the chat if you like. Okay. Okay. So if you're a vibe coder, you must have hit one of these problems so far, as especially as the context grows, as your application grows, you realize that you have to keep explaining the problem over and over again. Uh, the lot of times you try to fix one error and it breaks something else that was fixed a few days back. So, all of these issues are because of what we call is the lack of context. You keep hitting the same wall. AI forgets what was explained before, and the biggest issue with this is that there's a lot of token wastage because you have to re-explain the context to the chat, and that is a big issue, especially So basically, it runs out your tokens run out, and then you're stuck with your application. I mean, like you're 1 or 2 hours into coding, and it has already used too many tokens, and then you just have to wait for the 5 hour window to get over. So, and this is a big problem, especially as the app grows. And the reason for this, so why does this happen? AI has no memory between sessions. When I say that, it's it's about the LLMs. So the LLMs don't have a memory between session. The harness, whatever you use, does provide some context, but the context that the harness provide doesn't know what's important for you. So it is going to store some things based on its own understanding. And then as you keep working on your code, it's going to clear the context after some time. You'll see that the context grows, and then it automatically clears the context and then shrinks it into something. But the problem with this is the AI doesn't understand what's in your head, what's important for you versus what's not, unless you tell the AI to. And that's the problem that we try to solve with the context architecture. So, context architecture in this case is, it's a, think about this as a simple file-based structure. It uses something called as the MD file, the markdown files. Markdown files are simple text files that I think you must have come across if you have used some of the harnesses. So if you see them, the harness sometimes um, creates its own file like cloud.md, where a lot of it stores some basic information, and you can also update the cloud.md with your own information and your own context. But just crunching everything in cloud.md can make the cloud.md grow big. And so that's, you want to avoid that. And that's why you want to structure these into different files. And one of the basics is you start with is your project.md. So whenever you start a new project, you start by creating a project.md. In this file, you're going to explain what is it that you're trying to build. What's the project, why you're building it, what's the whole idea, and what is the end goal that you're trying to achieve. So that's what goes in your project.md. Next one comes the architecture.md. This file is where you're going to explain what is the tech stack that you're following, what's the application structure. So if there's a particular folder structure that you want the application to follow, you that is overriding the standard approach that Claude is going to give you. So you can define all those things in this structure. And this is also where key changes to those decisions live. So let's say you are working on a project and at some point you decide that you want to add a framework to your project, or you want to use a particular CSS class for your project. Then those like adding a new library or any of those decisions will also have to be included in architecture.md. And these, to update these files, you can just let the chat know that you want to update the file. So then the chat can go and update the file. So you don't have to maintain these files manually. You can just chat with the chat window and let the chat update these documents. Then the next one is features.md. This is a key file. I mean, this is more like, so project and architecture are more like baseline files, versus features.md is something which is getting updated as your project is growing. As you start building more features into the project, you keep adding these, as well as if you have some ideas that you're going to add in future, you can also start documenting those in features.md. So basically it keeps track of everything that's built already, what's in progress, and also what's going to be built in future. So this way, this file basically gives your LLM the idea like how the application has progressed over time. So, it's not just what was built already, but what you're currently working on and what's going to come up next. Rules.md is other baseline file. So this is rules.md is the coding conventions, what to do, what not to do. Sometimes, if typically people who stick with the same platform all the time don't even like to keep this file separate. So this is something that you can also think about including in your Claude.md. So some of these rules, but sometimes if there's something which is specific to the project that you're doing only for this particular project, then you can include that in the rules.md file. But most people like to just keep this in some of these things in your cloud.md or whichever harness that you're using. Then the next one is context.md. This is kind of like replicating or not replicating, but this is something which goes in parallel with the default context that the harness is maintaining. So the difference between this and the context that your AI is maintaining is that you can really update this document with what's really important for you and not let the framework or the platform decide what context you want to store. Also, this is something that our team likes to use it as something what you're going to be currently working and what you plan to work as a part of the particular sprint that you're working on. So that basically, so it becomes one file that the chat can look at, and it gives the context of where you are currently. And finally, errors.md. Errors.md is the last file. So this is the file where you keep you track all your bugs. So basically, any errors or issues, they get recorded in this particular file. And so I have another slide on this. So um, errors.md is the secret weapon of vibe coders. This is what this file is what keeps when you keep hitting the same wall over and over again because AI is not remembering the context. This is what can be fixed with this particular file. And what goes in errors.md is the bugs that you found and how you fix them, approaches that did not work, why they did not work. So if you try to fix some, I mean, if like the AI tries to fix something and that this has not worked in the past. So those things can be documented in this. So next time when the AI is trying to fix a particular issue, it knows that this is not going to work. It could be because of your platform or because of your server that you are using or something which doesn't let a particular type of uh, error, like a particular type of fix to work. Similarly, libraries or methods that cause problems. So if you know that a particular library, CSS library has an issue or a JavaScript library has an issue, those can be listed here as well. So the AI is aware of it. And then lesson learned the hard way. So basically, any lesson learned from your past mistakes and past errors will also go into this particular file. So yeah, this is like one of those files which is going to be like lessons learned for the project. So how do you use these files? So And this is like a general guideline, but again, so you start to, when you start every session, instruct the chat to review project.md and context.md, and then it instantly gets an idea. But again, features.md is something which is also important for uh, when you start up a new session. And then the next one is you add relevant files. So basically, if you're working on authorization or if doing something which needs to understand your tech stack and what decisions have been made, then you add those files in that particular when you start the session. So if you're fixing bugs, you can say that please also review errors.md for past bugs. And then update as you go. So at the end of each session, you can instruct the chat to update features.md and context.md with with what was changed during that particular session. And then every failure, like we discussed earlier, so anything that gets broken, add it to errors.md. And then if you follow these practices, your results are going to be better. So without the context file, you're re-explaining everything. AI makes assumptions that break things, and you end up wasting tokens on the repeated context, and your prompt gets longer and longer, and the response becomes slower. So if you use this particular framework with context system, AI knows your stack for every day. Then, like, the structured file is basically precise context. And then the AI knows what to load for that particular, what is relevant for that particular session. And your prompts are a lot cleaner and the response is faster. So this is for your hackathon challenge. You can start creating a project.md. What are you building? What is the reason you are building? You can also have architecture.md, write features.md. I would say, um, yeah, definitely do project.md, features.md, and errors.md. So these three files are something that you must do. So features is going to let you keep track of features that you're incorporating this weekend in this particular hackathon. I mean, if this is an ongoing project that you're working on. And then rules.md, if like some things that you agree with the team on coding conventions with your team. And then update context.md at the start of each session, add errors.md every time something breaks. So try this if you're working on a project during this hackathon. So that's it. We are at the end of the session with this. So if you have any questions, anybody has any questions, you can feel free to ask. This is my LinkedIn. If you like to connect with me on LinkedIn, I share a newsletter on LinkedIn that you can subscribe to, the Adaptive AI Advantage. And I share other information about AI and the best practices. So